chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina Speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you. From national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now, here's Sabrina.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks. It is indeed a happy Thursday, and just getting straight into it because we got a lot to cover today. I'm not here to stir drama. I'm not here to stir thought. I'm not here to stir drama. I'm here to stir thought this evening. And we're talking about, good evening, the national ID system has sparked, as you know, heated conversations in some closed quarters, and in others, the silence is really deafening. But beneath all the headlines and all the hashtags, lies something deeper. A moment for every Caymanian to ask, what kind of country are we building? And who gets to decide? So in this episode, I got some messages coming in here. In this episode of Sabrina Speaks, it isn't about fair, to be honest. It is not. Yes, a bang around corner you is trouble, It's about facts. And if you're going to steer the conversation someplace else this evening, it's all up to you. We've got some new things, well, I would say breaking, and just moments before coming live, where we're seeing where the member of parliament has resigned from the Progressives. And you know what? Let's just get into doing my short video, come back and just get the show started, acknowledge you, and let's just do some housekeeping. Yeah, let's just do some housekeeping, and then we'll get, this place is for you. This is for you. We've had a lot of thought-provoking discussions this week. And if you want to put this topic off for today, this space is yours. You tell me what you want, but we'll be right back after this message. Keep your messages coming in as well.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage is pleased to announce that the nominations for the 2026 National Recognition Awards are now open. Nominate individuals and groups who played a key role in developing the Cayman Islands' physical infrastructure. The categories include landmark leaders, infrastructure innovators, and the builders of Cayman. Visit gov.ky/YSCH. Click on the nominate button to make a nomination. Here is a step-by-step guide to fill out the form. Before starting, please read the instructions, the award categories, and the eligibility criteria. Step 1. Enter your personal information and select the award category for the person or group you are nominating. Click Yes to confirm that your nominee meets the criteria. Step 2. Enter the nominee's full name, date of birth, and district. Indicate their current status, whether living or deceased, and ensure you have the current contact information for your nominee and their next of kin. Fill out the submission detail and provide any supporting documents and a reference to support your nomination. Step 3. Review your submission and make any changes by clicking the previous button. When you are ready, confirm and agree to the terms and click Submit Form to make your nomination. A thank you notice will confirm that the nomination was received and a copy of the application will be sent to your email. Your nomination will be reviewed and considered by the National Recognition Awards Committee, and only successful nominees will be contacted and recognized at next year's National Heroes Day ceremony. The deadline to make a nomination is October 15. Remember, you can submit multiple nominations or browse our frequently asked questions by visiting the National Recognition Awards tab at gov.ky/YSCH. We look forward to receiving your nomination.
Well, happy Thursday to you and welcome back to Sabrina Speaks, where facts lead the conversation. And today I'm diving in and hoping to dive into one of the most talked about topics that is making its way right here in the Cayman Islands, and a number of headlines as well that has sparked your attention that just happened to come on stream before we went live. But the topic we want to delve in today, but I'll be directed by you, is the National Identification System. Now, this episode is not about politics or conspiracy. It's about clarity, constitutionality, and context. The content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, or participants, is intended solely for general, informational, and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability and decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can also follow me directly on Facebook. Just look for Sabrina Turner, community activist. I'm also on Instagram, the @ Sabrina Speaks, the number 12. And to all of our followers and new subscribers, I see you and you're well appreciated. Before we get into it, look, Cayman, get ready, because look here, Edward's still doing things. Edward's still doing things. Get ready for Saturday morning, because Saturday morning is about to shine at International Lighting. Yes, International Lighting is hosting a massive clearance sale and yard sale this Saturday, October the 11th, and it's for between the hour of 7 and 11 in the morning, right there at 194 Eds Plaza on North Sound Road. Now, I could be honest with you, there are too many items to mention. And the thing is, everything is brand new. It's not like scratch, dent, or anything, from fixtures to furnishings to decor and more. Like I said, there's just too much. If it lights up, brightens up, or beautifies your space, chances are it's on sale always between that time at International Lighting this Saturday. But here's the real spark. Guess what? With any purchase of $50 or more, you get entered to win a drawing. Yes, a drawing to win a Cayman Airways ticket. And guess what? He beefs it up even more. To any Cayman Airways destinations. Connie, yes, I said any destination. OMG. So mark your calendars, set your alarms, and bring your shopping spirit. That is this one morning only, though, between 7 a.m. and 11, because it's going to be huge. That's down at International Lighting. They're having a clearance and yard sale, 194 Eds Plaza, North Sound Road. Again, this Saturday, 7 to 11 in the morning. Shop big, win bigger, only at International Lighting. Yeah. So things are brighten up down there at International Lighting. And let's see who's here commenting. Hey, Marshall, good evening. It is so good to see you. Connie, you're stirring trouble already. Yes. It is a happy Thursday. And I saw that come through with the corner of my eye, Connie. Well, this evening shall be another bangarang. I don't know. I'm just sharing information. Funny enough, I was speaking to a friend earlier today, and all I got was, "You causing trouble." And I'm like, "Trouble? What do you mean? You causing trouble?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm only reading the law. I'm not causing any trouble." So that's funny. Even friends now are saying, I'm getting the label as a troublemaker. Do you think I'm a troublemaker? It's because I'm educating you? Let me know your thoughts. Drop it in the bottom. Again, knowledge is power, and your opinions are your opinions. means nothing to me because I'm giving the facts, but it is indeed my pleasure to keep it real, keep it live, keep you educated, keep you informed, and give you thought-provoking topics. And you can tell on the space and the social media platforms, I don't have to do anything. People are doing it themselves. Yes. Hi, Damian Henry. Happy Thursday to you, my dear. Tanisha. Hi, Sabrina. I'm excited about the upcoming show. I've been enlightened on so many important topics since you started your podcast. Thank you. Somebody's appreciating. And I'm getting from this, Tanisha, that you're not thinking I'm making trouble. Thank you so much for educating the public. It's indeed my honor. I know my purpose. I walk by faith and not by sight. Hey, Jackie, how are ya? It is a good to have you here as always. Lisa, the evening you have been waiting for. Yes, but who to tell? This is your space, wherever you want to take it. Yes. Hi, Miss Joyce Ann. Always a pleasure to have you here. Yeah. Heal, no knowledge is power. Oh, power. Yeah. No knowledge is power. It is. Yep. Hey, Gina, good evening. It is a pleasure to have you all here. But yeah, $50, go down to Edwards. You may actually win yourself a ticket to a destination that you never thought you would have gone just by buying something $50 or more. But huge things are going on down there. But, I always try to keep it real. And this evening is not going to be any different. Before coming live, I usually go on the CMR Facebook page and I see Sandra using this hat. Oh God, I just see this one she posted 11 minutes ago. That there's a article now. I see CNS picked up on an article in regards to the conversation that I was having with Sandra, that she woke me up out of bed. Yeah, she woke me up yesterday morning in regards to the HSA and my opinion there, or my experience, not opinion. But I noticed CNS article picked up and they quoted a line that it says, let me make sure I get it right, that the board not being accountable. I will ask Wendy if she can amend that, because at no point in time did I say that the board was not accountable or allergic to accountability. Whatever it was she said in there, that I'm quite sure will be rectified. But it, I don't want it to spin anything negative. Everyone who listened to that show knew, and if you listened to yesterday's show, it wouldn't make sense. It didn't align. But these things happen in media, and I'm quite sure that Wendy would do the right thing and amend it accordingly for what I said. But yes, the discussion continues, and you'll have your opinions on there. The truth is the truth. Sometimes it hurts. And another posting on Marl Road as well as an image of some person sleeping along waterfront. That's close there by just before Mr. Arthur's, across the road from the place that you go and trade stuff. And so this is sad, of course, that and stories and more. And then there's someone celebrating Earth Strong to Sophia. Happy birthday, Sophia, and to everybody else. Yeah. And then, you scroll it down, because I know someone, I know you guys are something else. Yes, but I am not a biased person. I was not going to overlook this by any means, because I think it's fair and I have to be balanced with what is here. But you're seeing moments before, and I have to pick it up on another screen because my eyesight is so bad. We see where on today, the MP for Bodden Town East, that's Dwayne John Seymour, and he posted a letter. I saw it and people are sharing it. It is also on his Facebook page, dated Tuesday, 7th of October. Really? This is dated Tuesday, the 7th of October. It says, "Good day, everyone. I have decided to tender my resignation from the People's Progressive Movement with immediate effect. This decision was not made lightly. I have sought counsel from my family and my closest advisors from Bodden Town East constituency, and I have taken considerable time to reflect on it, weighing both my own principles and responsibilities. I owe it to the people of my district and indeed the entire Cayman Islands. Serving as a member of Parliament for Bodden Town East is one of the most honors of my life, one of the greatest honors of my life. The trust and support I have received from the wonderful and amazing people of Bodden Town East over the years has been deeply humbling and profoundly heartwarming. My years of experience have given me the encouragement and motivation to pursue this decision. I will continue to serve as an independent member of Parliament. My commitment to the people of Bordentown East remains steadfast and true. I appreciate your understanding, and I look forward to maintaining a cooperative relationship with all members of Parliament as we continue to strive to improve the lives of our constituents and the entire Cayman Islands. And that is signed by Member of Parliament, Bordentown East, Dwayne John Seymour. And I have posted it here on my screen so that you can see it for yourself. But this and a lot of the other headlines are making its way there for you to know. And that member now, there's a lot of speculation here, and I'm quite sure he has consulted with his loyal supporters and all that sort of stuff. So what's your thought on it? I mean, if you want to go there, that's up to you. What this states, just for clarity, and what I read out of it, is that he is now pretty much over on the side where he's not a part of the PPM. Of course, as this letter states, he's still a part of the parliament, but he's not over on the government side either. We don't know. So that could be looked at as a number of things. Will he be over in the corner along with Mr. Chris Saunders, where you're a member of Parliament representing, in this case, his constituency, but he's free to speak now. He's no longer have to speak in accordance to or get permission from the Progressive because he's resigning as a member of the Progressives. So he actually now is over on the opposition side, but not necessarily a party member of the Progressives. So there's a lot that you can look into this. We're not about speculations. I'm quite sure he will actually be speaking on his own behalf. Of course, this space is always here for him and anybody to come and speak for themselves. But how it looks out in the play of politics and democracy as it is in Parliament, if he is removing himself from the branding of the Progressives and he's not on the government side as a backbench member, we don't know, and he's over on the side then with Mr. Chris, then they're free to vote how they want on subjects that or motions that can be passed, including the upcoming budget. And we see where the House is going now, going to meet. So this is quite interesting times, quite interesting developments, and you'll have to see. Another perspective is that he's pretty much aligning himself in a position to say, look, I'm here if you need me on the other side. You never know. Remember, your cabinet right now consists of 3 independents, 3 members from the CINP, Cayman National Party, and 2 members from the TCCP. That's why you call it a coalition government. There is not one dominant registered party that has made up your current cabinet. Okay? Your cabinet consists of 8 members. Cabinet. 3 independents, 3 CINP, and 2 TCCP, of which one of them is the premier. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. Just put that into perspective. Now, still on the government side of Parliament, when they go down into Parliament, they still have on the backbench Mr. Wayne Panton, Miss Heather Bodden, and Miss Julie Hunter. Okay? So they're backbenchers. But in your cabinet, where the ultimate decisions are made, of course, in consultation with caucus, where everybody meets, but not including the persons who are on the opposition side, you never know. You never know. These are the things, and this is why it's important that you keep abreast of what's going on. You keep your finger on the pulse. Some may say, oh my gosh, trouble is in the camp. We do not want speculations at this stage. This happens all the time. And there's nothing stopping an elected member from resigning from any political party. In this particular case, there is no instability of the sitting cabinet, no immediate threat of the sitting cabinet, because they all remain in play as we speak. He has just disassociated himself, based on this publication, as a member of the Progressives. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina. Interesting, very interesting day, I must say. I've seen this play out before, and our people are sick and tired of it, actually. At least I am.
Mhm.
And as someone that has voted and is from this country and this is my home, I'm actually sick of seeing this kind of garbage. Who do these people think they're fooling? This is only strategy. And and let me tell you, when this happens, you can look out that the government falls like dominoes, like playing cards. That's what happens usually when this starts happening. We've seen it happen time and time before, and I will bring you back to 2013. The UDP was strong with Mr. McKeever Bush. I want you to name up some of the members, if you can remember them, that actually folded the UDP and walked across the table. Do you remember who they were? Was this gentleman not one of those men? And we've seen it happen time and time again. And I'm saying to our people, we deserve better. We deserve people that when we put them in place, that they are going to work towards doing what is best for the Caymanian people and not their personal interests. Well, we know what the personal interests are. We've always heard the rumors. We've asked for the FOIs, and sometimes they're blocked. And years later, we'll get somebody saying, oh, well, this is what happened or that or what happened or allegedly this or allegedly that. Because we don't really have anybody that is really watchdogs for us and really are there to help us. Sabrina, you were the first minister I see that went into the health authority and gave so many different young Caymanians jobs. And I hope they still have them.
Well, based on a press release yesterday in the middle of while I was on Sandra, there was a press release go out of 87 young persons. I will try to find it, but yeah, they're appearing as though they've continued. Great.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I remember Miss Brenda Odger calling, and she was bigging up Mr. Anthony, and I have full respect for him and his whole family. But there is one thing I didn't see him do while I was there on the 5th floor. And like I said, it wasn't to push a lot of our Caymanian people. And it was their own, again, keeping us down. And I don't hold that against him. I'm just speaking the facts of what I saw. And I'm just saying kudos to you. And I am so proud of you for doing and standing. Where there's so much more that you could have done, sure it is. You can't undo 30, 40 years of all the crap that has been down there and do it in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say thank you for all that you did, because I am so happy to see so many of our Caymanians finally getting jobs. I would say that about Mr. Bryan too, because in a way that he did put a lot of Caymanians at the airport. And I also saw some stuff with him doing with Cayman Airways and stuff like that as well. So I would also give him a couple of marks as well. But the bottom line is, Sabrina, you did the most out of everybody that I've seen. And this is what it's all about. We have heard this for the last 25 years, immigration, Caymanians not getting jobs. And it's like the Jamaicans are starting to say now, where I've had a couple of people call me, say, Jamaicans said, I've had this conversation and they were in the midst of it, and they said, this is what the Jamaicans are saying. The reason why they're allowed to come and take the jobs is because when they are hired, and their boss short them an hour or 2 hours, they can still take it. They're not going to make no fuss, because they know they have to send money home for their children. They got to pay their rent, and they're trying to make a living. And that goes for any other nationality. But when it comes to a Caymanian, they know, those foreigners know that the Caymanians can go to the labor board. They will also go to their politicians. They will also fight for themselves with lawyers and everything else. So that is, it's called control from within. And it started around the world from 1912, actually going to 1913, when the British went over to the United States and around the world to start the control grid and the pyramid grid. And I won't go into any more of that. Those that are doing their homework, those that know what I'm talking about, will know exactly what the digital ID and what that comes from. And if they're not, they better go and watch the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and read and listen to everything that around the world parliaments are doing right now about the digital ID and what it means. It is control. It's to take away life from everybody and take away everything that you worked for, because that was what the motto was. Just like the motto is to protect and serve, that motto is work, take away from them, destroy them from within, and they won't even know it's happening. Okay? So that's what our people need to do. Educate themselves and learn what is going to happen to us, what's about to happen to us. You know what is sadder than this? That so many of our young people and so many of our people believe this is a good thing. Many of our fathers went to sea together. Many of our grandfathers went to sea together.
Mm-hmm.
Many traded cassava, turtle meat, cow meat.
Mm-hmm.
And now we, the great-grandchildren or grandchildren, are being told we can't get jobs. The banks won't lend us money. And the rates, the prices for houses, which young child is going to be able to get $400,000 or $500,000 loans to buy a house? And for the last 25 years, I have watched politicians build apartments all over the world, all over the island. And then we've had a bunch of Indians and everybody else come into Cayman, and they're giving these huge loans. And yet our own people still can't go and get those housing and do whatever is right. Georgetown hasn't had proper housing in many areas for the longest time. And whether we like it or not, yes, because their island was so small back then, they had a lot of incest and incest breeding, and we had people that were handicapped. Yes, that was one of the first things one of the doctors said to me, oh, the island that has so much incest and incest breeding. I said, well, yeah, we had some of that back when, but he knew it because of the history going into Florida with them teaching stuff in Florida and coming down to the Cayman Islands years ago. And I don't know how it all came up there and whatever, and who left from here to say this or whatever, whatnot. But that was exactly what he said to me. And he worked for Jackson Memorial Hospital. So that just goes to show you how much a lot of people knew about this little tiny island as well. And it goes back to saying this, that so many of our people are family members. They're cousins, married to cousins, and so forth. And I'm just saying this. We have lost our way. We were kinder to one another. We looked out for one another, and all of that Caymanian kind, true love and leadership and everything is gone. It's all about money. It's about how much money we can get paid from everybody else. Jim Biden made sure he put in 5% that infrastructure fee to make sure that when you came here, you pay that money so that we would always have something in reserve. And it's been taken away. Have you ever seen anybody under the last government, the other governments, have you all put it back in place? No. Can you imagine when a billionaire comes here and says that he wants to do $1 billion or a million and millions of dollars hotels and pay that fee? No more concessions. Make it pay the fee. If he's got money to build those kind of hotels, pay the damn fee so that our people can survive the next horror that is going to happen. Because it's coming. Oh, it's coming. We had an earthquake. We had a hurricane. And God is not happy with us. Of course, they say it's no God. It's all right. I believe in whoever, and they can believe in whoever. But the bottom line is, Cayman will be just like anywhere else. It's going to get the wrath because you cannot worship and do evil too much more and don't expect that it's not going to come back and get. But I'm saying this. Our people need to educate themselves what this digital ID means. London is talking about it. Europe is talking about it, and we need to understand. And let me tell you something. This switching from our politicians is not a good thing. Trust is one of the most important things that you can have, whether it's your business, whether you're running for the country, whether it's a love relationship, whether it's your child going to school, the hand that you're letting take care of. Let me tell you something. And when it's broken, it's hard. And I'm just tired of seeing these people make fool of us and saying that they're for us when it's really a strategy to break up, to destroy, to make themselves be more powerful.
But caller, we don't know anything because let's hold on. Let's see. But let's see.
I'm not saying that when it's happening. That's what I say. I'm just tired of seeing what I've seen in the years gone by.
based on
sure we
previous
understand that.
based on previous performances. What is
Exactly.
done is that
Yes.
it shows as though there is something probably afoot, is what this move, because of previous acts that
Listen,
are quite similar, is what you're trying to say.
Listen, with the experience that I have and you have, as we both are past civil servants, we're not fools. We weren't born yesterday, okay?
Mm-hmm.
For those that want to put anything else to it, they can do it. I know what's about to happen. I know it's going to happen because they've been trained by some of the best. Okay, the United States, they call them traitors. Okay, what they call them, and they actually say they should hang them or do all kind of things to them. We let them get away with everything that they want to do. That's just us. But the bottom line is, we know what's coming. Okay, I can tell you that everything, all the work permits are being turned down, all of the questions being asked, it's not being appreciated. And all of us asking for investigations from the rape of the little girl, from this, from that, and all the other topics that you're talking about. You think we're not looking and asking questions? We are. And I can tell you what, the seats are hot and nobody don't want to answer them. Then I ask myself, I must waste myself for the next 4 years and come out and go and vote for who? Not the same group. I want to talk to the young Caymanian lawyers. I want to talk to all the young Caymanian women that are coming home that are engineers. I want to talk to all the young Caymanian women. I want you all to run with me in 4 years and let us clean up this country and say to these people, this is what our grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-grandfather and great-grandmother and them, this is what they fought hard to build. You want to come here? Respect us. And if that means independence, then so be it. Because I can tell you where we are going, it is not good. I am not happy. And I have all right to say this because I'm a voting person. And guess what? I wasted my time again and went out and voted like a fool this year. It's not going to happen unless I see all 9 good Caymanian women there. Listen, I don't care if you had a husband and you left your husband. I don't care if you just have a boyfriend. I don't care if you have a slight past or a past. None of us can throw any stones. And it goes straight back to your grandparents, mother, father, whoever. I ain't talking about that. But I'm talking about you. If you say something and you mean it, your word is your bond, you're the kind of person I want to see there. If you say you're going to help your Caymanian people and you... If $1 million comes across the table and say, I want to build a hotel, give me some concessions, and we look at them and say no, and you stand with me and all of us stand together, that's the kind of team I want. I don't want the team that is running around and saying, oh, we didn't do this. Because at the end of the day, we don't know all the deals that were made under the table. We don't know how many shares or how many condos have been given away and how many land has been given away. We don't know it because there's no one to do the best. There is no watchdog to give us those investigations at the end of a year or the end of 4 years to say how much they have acquired while they were working there being a politician. Let me tell you what I plan to do, and I'm saying it straight. I will take no salary. I'm saying it now, and Sabrina writes it down. I will take no salary with the women that will stand with me. I will take no salary, but I will tell you, I will stand in the House of Commons like Mr. Bush did, and many others, Jim Barton did, many before him. I will stand and say, this is not what we want. I will stand and say, I'm not doing it to my people. I will tell those that are coming here that do not like us, but pretend that they like us and they want to push us around. I will tell you, catch the next flight. I got 5 jets. Choose one. Choose one. I will send you home free. I am tired of seeing my people beg and say, make a difference. I'm tired of seeing my people cry and hurt, Sabrina, like me. I'm tired of lies that were told and was never sorted. I'm tired of seeing young women sleeping their way to the top with 4 and 5 men out of one ministry alone and pretending they're good chief officers. I'm tired of all of it, Sabrina. I'm tired because I want better for my nieces. I want better for your children. I want better for your grandchildren. And I want better for my country. And today, I am telling Cayman, I am going to work for you free. So that means that when I collect my salary, if I'm in Georgetown, I want the Georgetownists to come. There will be no handouts. Let me tell you what I'm going to do for you, though. I'm going to make sure I go through every department under me. And if there's a job there at the port, I'm going to put you Caymanian in it. If there's a job at the glass house, and they're talking about mother and wife and husband and wife and daughter and son working and seeing ministries and all one family working, I'm going to tell you, many of them will not be there if I can get, and we have women that will stand with me and say, look, let's save this country for our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Let us bring it back home. Remember what our grandfathers and seamen went to do. They went to make sure it would be better for us, and we have sat back and sold it like we are prostitutes. All right?
I want to bring it.
Prostitutes.
Let's wrap it up for me, please, because I have
Thank you,
another
darling.
one merged
Thank you.
with you. But
Take care,
thank you for
honey.
your
All the best.
contribution.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. And
Okay.
we've gotten requests to give you at least 2 kabooms. I'll do one because of time. Okay. Thank you so
I'm
much.
telling them now. I'm not taking no salary. Salary to go to my people.
Okay.
Take care, Cayman,
Thank you.
and do the right thing.
Thank
Let's
you.
get it back. All right.
Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I wanted to talk to you about the topic of today's topic, right? And I did when it was. I'm interested in this topic, and I did some research on the Identification Register Act of 2022, as well as the Cayman Islands Identification Card Act of 2022. Right? And I wanted to talk to you about what those acts establish and what they seek to create.
Okay. I wanted to
I
go ahead.
I
Go.
had some questions, but I kind of wanted to clarify my understanding of the act before.
All right. Well,
right?
actually, in how I was intending to present it today, and of course you can see this has been a long awaited topic, and I was hoping that some of those who have been blowing at so hard at this topic, that maybe they can weigh in from their perspective, because I am honestly coming from a neutral perspective in my ability for delivery purpose. So that'll be nonpartisan. What the national ID means, what does our constitution say in regards to that, breaking down the constitution from freedom of movement to privacy, freedom of expression, even some suggested recommendations for the purpose of this first phase, because I know it's deep. And then also breaking down in layman's terms, all of those sections of the constitution for the purpose of delivering it at this stage, and share even some myths and facts about it as well, and how it all aligns with the global context, including other British overseas territories, and what lessons we could possibly learn instead of going deep into the law, because there's no sense at this point unless we craft it, in my humble opinion, without persons who, I want to be able to do it balanced, to be honest, and then tying it all in where the importance of public engagement is concerned. We're seeing where it appears that the world is moving on with this. We're seeing other British overseas territories that are trying to introduce it. Where does the UK stand on it, even though they do not have one, but are they on the verge of doing it? How does that impact the Cayman Islands as a British overseas jurisdiction in our individual collective voices? What is the value of that? And then you're seeing, again, it ties all back into trust and how it's rolled out. And if there are other ways in which we can coexist with something like this as the world move on and persons giving a choice, you understand? So there's one thing of going into and asking your questions, but if we don't frame it out, then you could be missing a lot out. If you get, I'm hoping that makes sense.
Okay.
Because remember yesterday when we were talking about the national health strategy, You see, when it made sense to people at the very end, because context matters. And unless you're
Well, sure,
prepared to drive into the actual law section by section, which I didn't feel at this stage, because the law, it hasn't gone anywhere. Let's see what this ID is all about first. And then, because that's subject for amendment.
Well, should I start with my question?
You can
first,
go
or
ahead,
should I
sure.
start with my point.
Go ahead with your
From what-
points, and then
going
we
to
just
my
tie
question.
it all in, and then we can just go along with the flow. But go ahead.
Well, my interest in this and what you were talking about, or what's going on in the world with England and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
My understanding of the Identification Register Act of 2022 is that act establishes the Identification Register,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a secure national database containing every registered person's identity information. So things like full name, birth date, sex, nationality, immigration status,
Mhm.
photo, etc. Right? And the Cayman Islands Identification Card Act, right,
Mm-hmm.
creates the Cayman Islands Identification Card, which is the official document now. The
Correct.
physical plus the digital linked to that register
Mm-hmm.
in the previous act, which is usable for accessing government or private services. From what I understand in my surface reading of the two acts, is that together they're supposed to create an integrated digital identity
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah. All right. Both acts acknowledge privacy through restrictions on who may access, disclose, or modify that information.
Mm-hmm.
And there is only allowed for limited cases such as national security, court orders, crime prevention, or emergencies. Critics may question how much control the registrar or cabinet has, because according to those two acts, the registrar may verify, update, or share data with other public authorities in the public interest, quote unquote, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cabinet can issue general policy directions and even override other confidentiality laws. So checks and balances depend heavily on the administrative integrity and the Data Protection Act enforcement,
Mm-hmm.
based on my understanding.
Mm-hmm. And so far, so
Now-
good. Mm-hmm.
So putting it now into a global context, making some global comparisons, right? From what I understand, these two acts to do is that they want to create this. So we want to create this. This act wants to create this framework, or these two acts want to create this framework that mirror system. So, for example, in Jamaica, you have the NIDF system, and then in Barbados, you have the Trident ID.
Yeah, but Barbados has had serious delays in rollout due to privacy
Right.
concerns, because their legislation is saying you will not be able to vote, you will not be able to license your vehicle and certain things unless you are a part of theirs. And their prime minister was seen saying something else. So again, trust was eroded because legislation is saying one thing and then your leader is saying something else. And I think in Jamaica, from what research I did, their NIDs faced legal challenges and revised after public pushback. So even legality, Jamaica itself, they are having serious problems as well with their rollout at this time.
Right, because what the Cayman Act, from my understanding of the Cayman Act now, right, is that they're trying to avoid Jamaica's early pitfalls by clearly stating that registration does not confer immigration or citizenship rights.
Correct.
And by referencing the Data Protection Act throughout, right? When you compare that with the EU's digital ID initiative, right, that show benefits of things like interoperability and strict GDPR level safeguards, what it suggests is that Cayman's model could succeed if transparency and independent oversight is robust.
But you got to win the trust of the people first. And that's where we're kind of lagging, because the longer they remain silent, and with what we're feeling where accountability and trust is concerned right now is what's causing some pushbacks. I mean, it's not about controlling the narrative. It's actually for something as topical as this, We're seeing so much conspiracy theories, however you want to label it based on your opinion, without insulting anyone who has the freedom of their opinion. I feel the biggest pushback that I'm seeing, even from our neighboring jurisdiction, is the level of freedom and the right to privacy. That is what's actually being shouted so loud. And they're feeling that their voices are not being heard. And then they're feeling that eventually it's going to be rolled out in a phase that, it's like, okay, one example that came to mind was when, we're going to the use of, we removed bank books, remember? And it was, you're encouraged now to do all online banking transaction. Now, okay, fine. It is so easy. And we've gotten them onto online transactions. Even when you come into the bank, we're going to lessen our tellers. And you're charged extra fees for taking out money out of your account. You're encouraged to do all, pretty much a lot of your transactions for the bank at an ATM. People are feeling with this national ID that eventually that's how you're going to be controlled with stop measures as to how much access you can get to your food, how much, it's like everything you do is going to be linked to this, and the protection of your information, even though what is being pitched is that it's not mandatory. It is not mandatory here in the Cayman Islands for what's being proposed. And that in the background, just like how you can do your preferences for your online banking, you would be able to say how much information personally, despite what you said with the rights of cabinet and the government, what is being said is that people will have control of what information you give then to the DMV, what information you give to your bank, what information, it wouldn't be just open. That's what's being said. You understand? Because when you look at even Barbados, their rollout included a digital ID system that has biometric features. And you're seeing what's happening as of the 17th in the EU. And what other delays that is causing pushback there, come with what I said earlier, is privacy concerns. It says that. You understand? So when you're looking at all of this, I feel if this is something that you want to actually win your people over, we must learn that respect people's voices, ensure transparency for what that is mean in its true context, meaning you got to communicate clearly about the data use and what protections and stop measures you have in place. And public engagement is ultimate. Just having press briefings or showing up here or there or not speaking about it alone, as we continue to see what's happening around the world, and then the space is being filled by something else and other stuff, that is not helping the Caymanian people.
So my questions are, I have 5 for now, right? I kind of want to stay online because I want to talk to you about this, right? My 5 questions for you are, my first question is, approaching it from a neutral standpoint as you'd like to do, right? Is this a step toward efficient digital government or state overreach into citizens' private lives? That's the first question, because I think these are questions that people are having, right? Mm-hmm. 2, what independent safeguards or tribunals exist if data is misused? Third question would be, should Cayman establish an independent oversight authority apart from the cabinet and the registrar? Could the system unintentionally create a 2-tier society, right? Because you're saying that because according to the act, it wouldn't be mandatory. Could it create a 2-tier society, those registered and those effectively excluded from services? And what lessons would Jamaica's NIDS court challenges teach us about public trust and constitutional compliance? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. These are all great. These are all great questions and suggestions as well, but we got to start talking first because do you know that the Constitution order guarantees privacy, freedom of movement, and freedom of expression? Right. But you were asked then, does the Constitution even mention or allow a national ID system? And the answer to that is yes. But it protects you once it's done lawfully, and it must be in adherence with privacy, which is Section 9. It also has to be in adherence with Section 12, which is freedom of movement, and Section 11, freedom of expression. And any ID system must respect these rights. So these are some of the questions that needs to be asked if we're going to go in this direction, that all of these 3 sections, 9, 12, 11, and 12, be actually a part of it, that you don't feel you have been pressured into or something pushed down your throat, that your privacy is questioned, your freedom of movement has been hindered because there's just certain things that they are doing with this rollout or implementation that will actually inhibit your freedom of movement and also freedom of expression. You know, so these are a lot of things that, in plain terms, has to be taken into consideration when this ID is being taught about or talked about.
Well, I think that ties into my second question, which was what independent safeguards or tribunals exist if the data is misused, right? Because the registrar is meant to be neutral, correct?
Correct.
But currently answers to the cabinet and the chief officer, not to an independent body.
And we know that the cabinet can change every 4 years or maybe
Correct.
earlier if it holds. We're seeing what's happening.
No. Correct. No, I know you didn't want to go deep in the law, but I'd like to touch the law. Section 44 of the Registration Act and Section 36 of the Identification Card Act, right? Appeals have to go first to the chief officer, which would be an internal process, and then only afterward to the Grand Court, which is something that is costly and it's inaccessible for many citizens. There's no dedicated oversight commission, like, let's say, you know, an information commissioner or a data ombudsman with direct power to audit the register. So while the Data Protection Act, the 2021 revision, provides a framework, it's reactive. It kicks in after a breach, but there's no proactive safeguard, right? So one suggestion would be establish an independent identity oversight authority or something to that effect to handle complaints, breaches, and misuse of data, similar to what the UK has with their information commissioners. I think it's the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO. I believe that's what it's called, right? Yeah, we could have that, right? I mean, you mentioned trust. Should Cayman establish an independent oversight authority apart from the cabinet and the registrar? I would say yes if the goal is trust. All right, citizens tend to trust systems that audit themselves. I mean, Jamaica learned this after its 2019 Supreme Court ruling that struck down parts of its NIDS for lack of independent oversight. So a Caymanian oversight body could publish annual audits. Just bear with me here, right? Investigate complaints and enforce compliance separate from political control. Otherwise, you know, public perception can turn hostile. Even if the system is secure, right? What the transparency builds confidence, and all opacity does is it breeds suspicion. So you can tie the oversight, let's say you tie the oversight to the Office of the Ombudsman. They already enforce the Data Protection Act and give it explicit statutory authority over the ID system.
In accordance to the Cayman Islands Identification Card Act of 2022, Section 23, registrar to implement security measures. Subsection 1 says the registrar shall take necessary technical and organizational measures and implement necessary safeguard to secure the information in the register, and that card database and maintain its confidentiality, integrity, and availability so it is secured and protected against A, access, use, or disclosure not permitted under this act or regulations, and B, destruction, loss, or damage, whether accidental or intentional. Subsection 2 of the said 23, without prejudice of subsection 1, the register shall adopt and implement necessary technological and physical security measures to preserve the confidentiality of the information submitted and collected in relation to the Cayman Islands identification card system. So you were asking who's going to, that all lies. And then I think one of our earlier callers, or when the conversation came up, was that's a lot of power for the registrar, is what they're saying.
Right? I think that there should be some oversight body. Now, my question was, because the Act say that no one can be denied public services because they're not registered, right? I believe it was Section 29. I can't remember which subsection it was, Section 29, but it was the first one, Registration Act, right? The Act says that no one can be denied public services because they're not registered. But in practice now, digital integration could make ID ownership a de facto requirement, right? You have marginalized groups. You have the elderly, who they're not really computer literate. You have undocumented residents. You have low-income persons. You have those without internet access. They could struggle to register. And then once the systems are digitized, these quote-unquote non-participants, they risk becoming invisible. They're not able to open a bank account. They got to access health. They don't get access to health care. They're not able to apply for jobs, right? I think to prevent exclusion of those people, what we can do is we can create community registration drives and mobile units. Like how when you have the voter registration process and people were walking around, going door to door, house, and that kind of thing. Right? Would it? I mean, I think keep analog options open while the system gains trust. If trust is the goal, right?
Because it's voluntary, then when you talk about certain transactions with a bank and let's say the DMV or other government agencies, right? They should then be able to, because it's not mandatory, they would have to retain doing services that only government, for example, provides that for persons who have not voluntarily opt in to the digital ID. Now, that then goes into private companies or operated business where government can't tell them what to do. What if a certain business, so say, I'm not going to offer services or engage in business if you don't or haven't opt in to this national ID? Then it becomes that's where the challenge comes. Yeah, that's where the challenge comes. It's either, but it be harder to do business. Well, people will say, well, then I just won't do business with them. But what if it's something that you definitely need, and that it's ease? So I think the word ease, the ease of convenience, that could possibly be taken into a total different direction.
Because in the UK, well, I mean, because I know that this is causing a big furor in the UK, right? Critics are warning that a digital-only system disadvantages those marginalized groups that I mentioned, the older adults, the excluded, et cetera, right? And some fear that those unable or unwilling to adopt the digital ID will gradually be denied employment or essential services.
But that's with everybody or just with the government?
Thus compelling them. But hold on, but you see, that's where it starts. But remember, this is something that's going to roll out over time. And over time, things can change, right? So I think to make it successful, I think that they need to ensure analog fallback paths, right? Inclusive registration strategies, legal protections guaranteeing non-discrimination. I mean,
people have a freedom of choice. Freedom, and again, it ties into the Constitution. But are we saying then, if we're not right, if we're saying then that we have no faith and trust that the Constitution for what it stands for right now is not being even adhered to, it goes back to the fear that is creeping in with the latest breaking news in regards to the member for Bordentown East, because of what people are accustomed to. It's the beginning of the end. It signals something. And then you're looking at this, then how can we trust if there are certain things in the Constitution then that we're not adhering to? Why should I trust that they are going to really respect my right, not enfranchise me from freedom of speech or freedom of movement, despite the Constitution saying when you introduce this national ID, all of these things has to be adhered to. So I think the biggest task that we would have to do, not only locally, but internationally and respect people's stance. You will never get everyone to buy into this national ID, okay, because of their fears, because of all the research that they have done into it, how you can line certain things up to see how it's all coming together. And then you'll have those that are saying, look, what's to be will be. If this is the way the world is going, I serve my mighty God, whatever the case may be, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to stand so rigid because if I need a national ID to go to Foster's, for example, oh God, not just picking on them. I'm just saying simple things like that. Once my soul is right, whatever is to be is to be. I serve a mighty God. I don't, if this is the way technology is going and it is for me to go on my Bahamas trip or go to the EU country, then darn it to hell, I'm going to do it. But then you will have those that stand on their principles, their belief, and that's where the divisiveness comes, that they're saying, well, you're violating my rights under Section 11 of the Constitution, Section 9. You understand? Right. So this is where we get the divisiveness. And then you get those where, well, my MP did not have a meeting on this. They're going to the parliament and they are actually debating this. Where is my voice? The Cayman Islands is not an independent jurisdiction. We fall under the UK. So who's really lobbying for the voice of the Cayman Islands? And then you have other BOTCs like Bermuda. What are they saying? If you come together as all BOTCs then and go as in one voice then to the UK to let them know how you feel as a small development jurisdiction, even though mama, the UK, or daddy is the UK, what weight does that carry with it? And this is where you get a divided society because they feel then that their voices are not heard because we are in almost a hybrid position because we're speaking as though we're independent, but we're still governed by the United Kingdom. And your fighters, your conduits are your members of parliament. And if you're feeling that your elected members are actually, whether personal or they have bought into a bigger narrative, that you may feel you were deceived, decepted, and they're going to push the narrative either far right or far left, but you're still here in the middle and you don't feel that it's fair representation, then that's a bigger problem that we have. You understand?
So the central question then is, how can Cayman balance innovation with constitutional rights? Right?
That's easy. Making sure that they're transparent and true to their word, that there are you want to do a real win from this. This may be the catalyst of change, that you do as you say, right? And then you put the necessary protections in there to show that you're adhering to the principles. You're seeing where the Constitution is played out. You see where the Bill of Rights and people's right. You understand what I'm saying? If you can see that, that may be your first step in the right direction to having real evidence that your voice matters and that what the people are saying really matters. This may be that chance to get that right. This may be the opportunity. I don't know.
Well, I think in order for it to succeed, and I'll leave you here after this point, as you just said, build transparency into the system. I think that what would help is having an independent board or commission, or giving the ombudsman that power. Have mandatory public reporting of data breaches, having independent security audits, clear penalties for misuse, beyond what's already in the Act, right? As well as a general educational drive, and encourage a public-private partnership approach to governance.
Of course. That would be those recommendations are very sound. And don't say it's not mandatory and you're making, putting hurdles in the way. Exactly. Correct. Yeah. And I think that type of behavior in other elements of life, other, let's say, policies, One thing comes back to mind. Oh my God, and this may be a horrible example, but it's only because it was recent that we spoke about it. Remember with the protections for the blue iguana with the National Conservation, that has been lifted under a cabinet order. Let me see if I can find it. Where the cabinet actually removed some protective rights over personal properties in East End, I think. And that then was, that in itself then says, oh my gosh, but you're saying one thing that you're protecting our national environment, our natural environment, and now you're doing this. Those type of things, I think I found it. Those type of things actually erodes trust. And that is where I think we have to do some repairs. No, I don't have it. Yeah, but I think that's where we have some repairs to build that back into our society. Otherwise, we are bound for failure on this. And this could be at the crossroads for rebuilding trust from the people, just right here with this exercise.
Because if it don't go right,
it's going to
look like you're going to have to default to Lucretia, and I'm going to have to change from aspirin to something else.
No, look, I could be very honest with you. Like I'm being very professional with the execution and delivery of this platform. My intention is to remain nonpartisan, contrary to what other peoples may feel. And I feel that is why whatever you contribute to a subject matter, I have to respect it because that's your perspective. And we're not going to have a clear space here on Sabrina Speaks if I come in gung-ho, this is how it's going to go, this is my opinion. No, we're getting anywhere. No. And this is why I'm nonpartisan. I have to entertain your perspective just as much as I entertain Lisa's, Denny's, anybody else, Siobhan's, anyone. Because we get a better sampling of really what's out there, not to say that 4 or 5 people is a true reflection and representation of the wider Cayman Islands. I just feel as a host moderating this space, creating this space for thought-provoking dialogue, bring sound topics, educate while we go, but gives the opportunity and the platform to see it from both perspectives. Me weighing in on my personal opinion takes away from being objective.
Right. And I appreciate that about the show.
Thank you.
About you.
Yeah, my opinion in this case really doesn't matter because this is going to be the closest amongst other shows that I think I have brought so far to the table, sound objectivity from an information standpoint. I'm not going to make one topic or comments steer me off in another direction that will tarnish the brand, the space, and the purpose. Right. I'm not going to allow that to happen. So it will be interesting to hear another perspective because I threw it out there. What if someone really don't care? If you are very strongly God-fearing person, which we are built on those principles, contrary to what others may think. If this is signs of the times, Revelations is fulfilling, then if I could get an ID to do banking, I already got somewhat of a digital footprint to do bank. Then I got it. But you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it all depends on your perspective, your strong beliefs. There are just certain things you will never get me to concede to because of my personal morals. But in a space like this, it has no place.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, until Lucretia comes on here.
Yeah, but that'll be another show, man.
Good evening.
Thank you, my love. Take care.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, take care. I'm Miss Rose. I myself not be exception to that national ID, that crazy. Hold on, sorry, I want to read this. What a plan for the Caymanians. Hope the government is going to pass the plan. Has that national ID finalized that we will have to do and use that? Okay. Damien, on the flip side, it could make it harder for undocumented immigrants to work illegally, thereby making borders more secure and reducing the size of informal economy. Damien, I think what the EU's take on it, is to actually help with overstayers as well and tracking. Definitely you wouldn't have persons coming in on false assumed identity, where they're showing up as Damian Henry, but in actually genetic coding and facial structuring, if you don't have those bells and whistles, you're probably Omar Daly, for example, just for the purpose of this. I hope there's no Omar Daly out there. But yeah, so what the EU is actually trying to do with their implementation to actually aid in their border security as well, and to help them combat overstayers. Real Michelle, secure data, you laughing. That's a thing of the past. What's wrong with the good old passport? Same thing you asked about what's wrong with the good old bank book back in the days. I used to like flicking through that to see where you're coming from, instead of now going on into the digital age where you're really just only concerned with the line that you're at or the balance. But I feel people really spent less when you had the old bank book. That's my humble opinion, but it doesn't matter, just for the context of that. But yeah, for me, that's me. But it's going to be interesting. Marjorie, I hope the Cayman Islands never ever go into independence. I've lived through it, all in the land of my birth, Jamaica. Well, I gotta be honest with you, Miss Marjorie, some of the conversations, it is topical, and not about going independent. Sorry, not about going independent. Some conversations have come up if certain pressures keep coming down from the UK chain, and how we have to actually be accountable and what our rights are as the Cayman Islands. It has been talked about numerous of times. I'm quite sure everybody knows on various other shows. And the thought of it has been shot down every time. Nationally, that is what we have heard from the masses, that independence is not the way the Cayman Islands need to go at this stage. And from what I'm getting, the feedback, no. So I'm hoping that that's not what it is. Will this national ID compiled with other stuff actually drive us to there? Normally when independence is coming, you should have a strong legislative arm or a parliamentary arm. And we're seeing what's happening play out before our eyes. So we have a lot of maturity to do. I mean, the mere fact that the conversation of national voting and constituencies, the balance of that has come with its own fare of criticism. Trying to go back to a similar system that we had, the removal of one man, one vote. Those are all the modernization and maturity that probably needs to happen before we even say, no, let's go independent. That is going to take you rewrite of your constitution. You're going to have to look at so much. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. So very interesting comment there. As our money, so when we is being paid a salary from company, how will we use it? Miss Rose, I'm not so sure what you're saying here. I'm wondering if you're tying that into the national ID. I'm not so sure. This is all for discussion purposes, Miss Rose, to be honest with you, in regards to, we're not saying that you would need to have a national ID in order to do banking services, but it is not impossible that at some point they may ask for a national ID. We don't know. These are all scenarios that could play out, is all we're saying here. Denver, get the fingerprinting system. We're sitting on put in place. Yep, Denver. And there was support as well for the biometrics at our ports as well. So I don't know. Marjorie, so John is a great loss to who or what? Well, he'd be a great loss for numbers to the progressives. He's no longer, based on his letter, he's no longer a progressives member. So he's a great loss where numbers are concerned. You've heard that slang or term used a lot, that it's a numbers game. Now, if he positions himself in a particular corner where he's not progressives, he's not a part of the government, he's over there, his vote can go anywhere on bills, on laws, on how you vote for a budget, on how a ministry's fate. I mean, yeah, you may say, well, it's only one vote. His vote is powerful. One vote is powerful. Every representative in there represents a certain amount of people. And in his case, not being a minister, he still has the responsibility and the remit of Bordentown East to represent. He is not a minister, but on national topics like the budget, on national discussions like the ID, even though he's not a part of the progressives based on that letter, what if the majority of his constituents says, we want the ID? How he votes, he's the voice for his constituents. What if they say, we don't want it? Look, you vote for that, bro, you done. He may actually bow under pressure and say, well, okay, I have to go with a no. And what if the no then is one and same as the party that he resigned from? You see what I'm saying? So he's almost in a world of his own, so to speak, over there, not being right now directly linked to the progressives with his resignation, to the best of my knowledge, and it's not in the public's domain. He's not a TCCP member, and he's not a CINP member. I guess you got to keep looking to see what's going to happen. So it's going to be interesting. Real Mike, Real Teresa, Cayman must learn to walk before it runs. Sound, and yes. Rose, yes, that's what I mean. No, Miss Rose, the bank, these are all for discussion purposes. So we can't say that that's where it's going to go at the end of the day, but it's not off the table, okay? This is why spaces like this is so important. This is why you need to know the law. This is why I try my best. And of course, all of the persons calling in here and those who are from the perspective of speaking so loudly on this ID, you hear their opinions. And it is going to be interesting how it unfolds. Miss Lucille. Good evening, Sabrina. I just opened my eyes halfway. Love you all. Stay safe. Lots of blessing. Miss Lucille, it's always a pleasure hearing you. Thank you. Thank you. You're over there in the UK, and we thank you for your continued support. So yes, when you talk about then, I said when the caller was on earlier on, the Constitution, the Cayman Islands Constitution, does actually say or provide provisions in there that a national ID can be implemented. So the answer is yes to that. What does our Constitution say about that? And it is clearly a yes, but it comes with the if implemented lawfully. And lawfully implementation means that it's implemented with the Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009 that protects exactly what we spoke about earlier on, where privacy, freedom of movement, freedom of expression, and it should represent all of these. So when you think about your privacy, what is that pretty much in plain terms? It's to pretty much keep your personal life private. That includes and not limited to your home, your communications, and your personal information, like your medical and all of that sort of stuff, the balances in your bank account, that sort of stuff. And the government and anyone else can't just snoop into your life without a good legal reason. Now, when you're actually interfering with nefarious activities that could be of public interest, meaning it could cause an issue in the public, that let's say you're dealing with some people or organization of people that could be a big risk to national security. If they feel that's a threat, then those are some of the circumstances that they could possibly have access. And we know where that goes, but it's all within context as well. So why it matters for the national ID, you may ask, when you look at any system that collects information for this respect from a government standpoint, of course, people are going to be nervous. And that the information has to be, as you see in the law, should be protected. Now, I said the word should. Some will say has to be protected. And that is where the shaky ground comes in. And you should know who has access at any time. Now, with all of these smart codings and programs that you put on it, how would it be if somebody's accessing your information while you sleep? Is there going to be bells and whistles that anybody goes onto your footprint that your alarm sounds on your phone or whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to do it for the context of this podcast. But these are all the things that will actually vamp up security. And then you may say, well, who would want to know what I got? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. So then it goes down to the freedom of movement. And in plain terms, what that means, does it mean that I have to get permission to go to Miami for a long weekend, or Atlanta or Tampa? That freedom of movement for this context is your freedom of movement around the Cayman Islands. Yes, leaving the country and coming back without unfair restrictions being placed on you that you can't leave, or if you leave, you can't be out for X amount of days because your net worth is only this or whatever. Those are some of the bizarre, and that's like far left. And that you can live where you want, like you're not put off on some plantation. Is it going to segregate some of the people? Is it going to be a place where this will define? Some people have gone down as what days you go to the supermarket, like when we were in COVID, and how you travel, where you travel. And we saw all of this coming into discussion, but these are all where your freedom of movement is protected under the Constitution, that you shouldn't be barred from anything like that. Okay? And then you would say, well, why does it matter for a national ID? It matters because if the ID system ever limits where you go or what services you can even access based on registration, it could and it will be violating your freedom. And that's why safeguards are essential. Let's go into the whole constitution of freedom of expression. We are a culture right now in the Cayman Islands where people are fearful of speaking out because of fear of victimization, fear of being blackballed, however you want to code it, class it. You're barred from getting a job. You're scoffed at in certain circles. They don't call you to be on any boards because you're just not the type. Now, we're looking at this from a national perspective as it pertains to the national ID when it comes to freedom of expression. So what does that mean in real terms? That you have the right under the Constitution, that's Section 11 of the Constitution, you have the right to speak your mind. You have the right to share your opinions, and you have the right to receive information as well. Now, whether through speech, writing, media, podcasts, art, Section 11 protects you of freedom of expression. And this includes criticizing the government or public policies. So if you know you have the right of freedom of expression, why is there now a culture where we're scared? Why? When you're protected by the Constitution. Is it that you're really fair of what people can do you, or you're fair of the fact that they can do you and there's no accountability? That's very interesting when you put that into perspective. What are you scared of? And why should it matter about freedom of expression? Is because people must be free to question. You should have that freedom to debate. It should never go personal where you're so fearful of actually speaking openly and discuss topics like an ID, to discuss failings of our health system, to discuss mismanagement without fear. Public dialogue is protected and it's necessary for a healthy democracy. I said it yesterday. We used a word about democratic society, but we take things too personal, when in fact you have a constitution that gives you the freedom of expression. But again, freedom of expression in a small island jurisdiction like the Cayman Islands, where everyone knows everybody, and it's easy to manipulate, it's easy to control, it's easy to block your bread, it's easy to block your income, then if you retreat and rid yourself of freedom of expression, you're automatically putting yourself into dictatorship. You have a right. And if that's not what you want, then guess what? You better learn to stand in numbers, because the silent majority is protected by freedom of expression in accordance with Section 11 of our Constitution. Yeah, you are. But that strength comes in numbers. I tell you guys, you got more strength than you even know. You really do. Sana, so what about the current data protection? How will that work? It all ties in, and this is why there are a number of pieces of legislation that is actually going to be rolled out along with this. But again, all that is said here is subject to change without notice or little to no notice, because when we do public discussions like this and recommendations, of course, there is a current law that's subject to change. And if you want to go forward in actually implementing this at the end of the day, maybe there may be some tweaks. Maybe there may be some amendments being made based on your feedback. And that's why democracy, healthy democracy, is paramount. But if we all stand back and just put 3 or 4 people out in the front to do the talking, that's not a clear reflection of the people. You are pigeonholing yourself because you're still thinking, or boy, I don't want it to happen to me. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? You do that, and you come down one at a time. And as we fall, certain people rise, and then control takes over. But I'm assure you that there's more strength in numbers. And when you really do a sensitive check on the silent majority, that will outweigh all of that. Number is huge. I can tell you. I can tell you that much. So let's kind of real Teresa. Yeah. Kaboom. Nah. Yeah. I just want it to stick, but thank you. I really, really want what I'm saying here to stick. And like I said, today was not politics. It's not fear mongering. It's not conspiracy theories. I'm giving you room to think. I'm having the opportunity to just be nonpartisan, just bring the information, give you a perspective to open up and weigh in on it. But like I said, a lot of people don't weigh in on these topics because they're scared. And that is a sign of that's not going in the right direction, in my humble opinion. We're not going in the right direction. And if you continue to muzzle yourself and be fair of the minority, then we're doomed. Listen to what I just said. Be fearful of the minority, because the silent majority is still stronger in numbers, just that they choose to remain silent. Okay? So let's look at some myths and a few of the facts in regards to the national ID. There's a myth that this is a surveillance tool. The fact is that the system is designed to be voluntary with data protection laws in place. And I have pretty much stated there where the Constitution part of it is concerned. There's another myth that no other country does this. In other words, Cayman is the first. No, the fact is Jamaica is trying to do it. Barbados and EU nations right now, as we see, they're rolling theirs out with the biometric side of things as of October 17th. And they're implementing similar systems with lessons that we can learn if we just sit back a little bit, do what we're doing now, and not fall into those pitfalls that we're seeing Jamaica and Barbados that are having right now, because trust has been eroded and legally things have actually, legal matters, people have actually challenged them legally. So another myth is that it's unconstitutional. No, the fact is the Constitution allows for IDs. But if it's only allowed if implemented lawfully and respectfully. Where the disrespect comes in is when you remain quiet. That's where you're disrespected, when you remain quiet. Yeah. So some of you say, well, is it mandatory? I think we covered that. I'm getting a question here. Is the national ID mandatory? No. Current legislation proposes a voluntary system. You sign up to it, you apply, and you can opt out, opt in, opt out. So it's going to be, right now, it is not mandatory. So yeah, what we can do is like what our caller said earlier on is publish governance framework and appoint an independent oversight body for ID data, which is why I wanted to do it in segments so you would understand the historical context and all make it make sense. So some of the recommendations, yes, is appoint an independent oversight body. That allows you then to have a stake into the discussions, be around the table, and make you feel more involved with the process. So I think with this oversight body, you actually feel that your voice matters and that there's representation. You would say, well, Miss Sabrina, well, what about my MPs? If you ask you all right now how you feel about some of your MPs, I'm quite sure the feedback would be a little different, and not to politicize this topic. But that is why an independent oversight body could actually work for this, because then you would have someone that's not vying to retain their seat in their constituency, but you'll have persons who just want to really be a part of that body that is not tarnished by politics. So from the global context, I started to say when that other caller called is that, and if you missed it yesterday, that the European Union is introducing theirs on the 17th of October. And that is to actually assist in border controls and to be able to identify even overstayers. And you ask, well, where does the UK sit in all of this? To be straight, our parent nation, our parent country, whether or not you like them, has no mandatory national ID at this time. They don't. And then you may say, well, Sabrina, where the hell do we even have this legislation? What? See what I'm telling you? See what I'm telling you? If they don't have one, really? Yeah, the UK doesn't. That's the fact. There's no mandatory national ID at this time, but they are exploring digital identity systems. So you may think, well, this is only phase one. But even though they don't have a mandatory national ID in the UK, they are exploring digital identity systems. So it's going to be interesting. Now, when you look at other British overseas jurisdictions, they have, of course, like your electoral ID, but if that's not digitized, it wouldn't give you the same leverage. Others have residency cards, but very few of the other BOTCs, British Overseas Territory jurisdictions, actually have a universal ID systems. And we heard here when the other caller called about the national identification systems in Jamaica. And like I said, Barbados was delayed only because of privacy concerns. And people felt that they were not trusting of the system, and what is being said is not really what is actually happening. Yeah. So the EU and what they're rolling out, it's going to use fingerprinting. It's going to use facial scans to replace manual passport stamping. So I went to the UK and I only once did I ever, I don't even think I have a stamp. No, it was all retina and fingerprinting. So it's already in the database. They hardly ever, once I gave them my boarding card, my boarding pass, which I had two options, either a scan on my phone, a QR code, everything then linked. But it was quite interesting. And I was like, what's the sense of the passport now? Because you have it, because you're so used to having this passport. It wasn't asked for. It wasn't. Nope. And the aim for the EU is to modernize borders, making it more efficient, reducing fraud, and tracking overstayers, as I said. So at the end of the day, the digital identity system that the UK is exploring right now, which is why we're probably doing this, and we are a BOTC, but it isn't anything that's mandatory, and it's going to be looked at. So when you're looking at it, this system, you can go on for the UKs to see what they're trying to roll out. You can go on to gov.uk and you can look at it, and it's voluntary. So you can just go on. There's a link there as well. You can find that yourself. You got Gibraltar as well. Oh, among other BOTCs, you got Gibraltar and our good friends over there in Bermuda. They specifically use as a national ID their electoral or resident ID system. But again, it's not universal like what we're trying to roll out here. So it would be interesting to hear what Gibraltar and Bermuda has to weigh in on this. Like, what's the sensitive or the temperature check of other BOTC jurisdictions on this subject matter? Because we may have more support than we think. And this is why collectively your voice matters when you come together as one. Now, Antigua and Barbuda has a compulsory electoral ID. Yeah. But we are still on the more easy side. And I feel that is where we will probably have a chance to maneuver and probably get in on a better footing if we feel that, you know, we can actually make some headway if we just have more public dialogue, more public participation without coming after each other's throats, and just respect each person's opinion. Hi, Pat. It's good to see you. Michelle, although the digital ID is existing behind the guise of Medicare, maybe. This is proposed that it's going to actually link you to you see where you can go onto the portal now at HSA and you can get all of your lab works and stuff come to you at the palm of your hand. I'm quite sure with that number, that'll one day tie into it if you so opt into having your medical records and stuff. But if you signed up to that app for HSA, you're automatically one step, but it's isolation for HSA. Where the fare comes in is if that is then housed on one document, on one card, one chip, then everything is in one place, centralized. So it's going to be interesting. Damien. So let's see where we're going there. But I think the key is to respect choice. From what I'm getting here, the temperature on the ground in Cayman, I think, is people are asking for respect. That it remains a voluntary participation until more trust is built. And to ensure transparency is also vital, that's what I'm getting. And that is why clear communication is paramount about the data use and protection, and what is going to protect the Caymanian people, that their personal information is not going to be sold to the black market and so forth. What is going to protect you with this, that you won't be barred from participating in referendums or voting, or how often you go to the supermarket, how much money you can get out of your account when you want it, and travel. So yeah, I think open forums like this, where people can not be judged but be respected for their own opinions, open forums actually help in that, so that your government and your policymakers will have an idea of what you feel about this. Consultations as well. You can either do the coffee or lunch and learns about it to make it personal. And this is where independent so-called district councils, community groups can actually invite members of government as well to meet in districts, and we just have it. Or you have virtual town hall meetings as well, and you can control those if you want it more, let's say, for a particular area. Let's say we want to do Cayman East. We can do a thing for all the Cayman East, anybody who lives, and they sign in. But it's hard. For this, it's a national. I wouldn't put any barriers there. But in order to make sure that you get the word out to specific areas, that's something maybe your MP could do, a town hall thing online to talk about it, just to get feedback. And you have your people in your background getting information, collecting the data. I don't know. But the key is open conversation, making sure that people, that they're buying into it, that they feel valued, that their opinion matters. And no matter what you think about it, whether you're a huge conspiracy theorist or you're just one who's like, what's to be will be, I don't care, just give it to me. I just don't want to wait in the long lines. If it makes the ease of doing business at at the DMV easier, or getting through services at physio easier, if it's going to make my referrals become easier, give me the darn ID. Some people may have that approach, and some people, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch it. We just got to respect. Yeah. So these open forums are key, and have feedback loops as well. And always keep up with PR. Always keep up with PR. And learn from others. I think that's huge. That's huge. We can adapt best practices, in my humble opinion. Look at Jamaica, look at Barbados, how their approach were, and if there was anything. And I know that there are some of my friends and colleagues that have friends in these areas, Barbados, Jamaica, close friends. Have the conversations with them to see if they had to do it over again. Let's start over from scratch. It never happened. If you could turn the hands of time, what would you do differently? Learn from them. I'm quite sure that it could be actually something that will resonate quite well here. And it shows that they have explored all of it, all angles out of respect. Now, when you look then at accountability for the rollout of the national ID, and you look then again at the 2024 Auditor General's report that raises serious concerns over transparency and spending and oversight, both with civil service and among elected officials. We as Caymanians then are, again, you're demanding accountability, and not just in spending, but in systems that affect everybody's daily life. So bringing it back to this specific topic, the national ID is one such system. That is why I'm seeing some apprehension from a number of people. And it must be built on trust, not just technology, because if you're not a techie person anyhow, you lose me. And there may be a huge section of those. We're seeing that our seniors, our aged persons in our community are living longer. We're seeing where they still need to be able to live a life with dignity and independence. And if we're rolling this out, that has to be built in for our seniors. It was said here by a caller earlier. So when you look at what does this mean now then from the Auditor General's perspective with all of those highlights, even this ID will play into that, because what that actually reveals, which is some of the concerns that you're citing, are gaps in transparency and oversight. And if you're saying they're failing at certain things, what is there to build confidence that I should be okay now that I'm giving you free reign over my medical information? I'm giving you free reign over possibly my banking information, my lands, and all of that sort of stuff. And that is why, as locals, demanding accountability and the national ID will reflect deeply on that as well. So we have a lot of maturity to do. We have a lot of trust to be built. We have a lot of personal, I'm speaking to every individual now who feels that I'm better off just staying in my corner. I'll make up my own mind in the privacy of my home. We respect that. I don't have to take a public platform to weigh in on any opinions. I'll just make a decision for the best interest of my family when that time comes. We have to respect that. But some of the recommendations as well, in order for making this work, is that we use a movement, in all honesty, to rebuild public trust. And for the amount of times that has come up here on this platform, on other subjects, other topics, I think that we are losing trust, not only in our system, but we're losing trust in some of our leaders. And that, my friends, is cause for concern, because when you lose that trust, things like these actually become stagnant. Progression becomes inhibited. The loudest voice or deepest pockets will then be the ones that actually prevail. And it's quite interesting where we're headed. Some of the other questions that, I have another one here. Who owns my identity? At the end of the day, should this roll out? You do. but the system must protect that ownership. And then you say, well, what if it goes awry? We can all hold the government accountable. How do you do that when we can't even hold them accountable now? Stick a pin right there. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening. I gotta give you a little big laugh. I agree. What you think about what Lisa was saying? I agree. You don't think we need an all-female government? Let's see how we'll turn out with that. Since we had more males than ever. I mean, a few males were in it, but a whole, like she said, whole women's government, everything female. You think it will work?
That depends on the polls. Based on statistics, I have nothing wrong with anyone trying to galvanize a strong all-woman group to run. When you look at the statistics from all of the persons who go out to vote, from a gender caller, you still have the largest number of women showing up at the polls to vote. So then it begs the question, why are predominantly men being elected? You see what I'm saying? If the people who go out to vote are predominantly women, and we're saying, oh, women need to support more women, that's a horrible reflection at the polls.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I applaud her for her efforts. We're seeing where, and this is not just talking to dismiss the men. I feel that both needs to be represented, but I applaud her for her efforts, and she got my support if she wants to go there, not as a candidate.
Well, they got to laugh at what I'm going to say, but I just put it this way. What we need is more pussy power.
Okay. Got you. And that was a mic drop. There we go. Oof. Leave it to Shelma. OMG. There we go. Michelle, no one can guarantee the absence of bad agents. No data in this world today is safe. The better question may be how the breaches will be dealt with exactly, which is what I got through. I was wondering that. You're quite right. And will it be handled quickly? Will there be a huge team? Because it's different now when you're seeing the oversight and operations of the civil service and government safeguarding our database, and we've seen a couple of breaches already, and they've acted quite swiftly. There's a lady that is there, and I've had the honor of listening to her and how she put forward her presentations to us, and I have faith in her that she knows what she's doing based on where we are right now, to be honest with you. But on a grander scheme of things, should this actually come to fruition quicker than we actually want it, that management of that now may be bigger than what we're currently managing. So is it now a test phase as to how we're managing breaches, how we're addressing any issues of data breaches currently in our government system? Is this a test run for how we could handle something on a broader scheme? You be the judge of that. What's your opinion on that? I mean, because we have had some data breaches and they have been recovered. And based on what has been reported into the public's domain, no large amount of data from my recollection has been lost or have been compromised. And that's because of the safeguarding mechanisms that they currently have in place. So is this a litmus test as to where or what could be there? Should this go national? Should be the question. Persons are asking, can I opt out? Yes, under the current proposal, but the legal safeguards must be clear. So under the current proposal, you would be able to opt out if you no longer want to be a part of it. And hold on, I had another question here. What happens if the system is misused? Well, the oversight and transparency, that's why oversight and transparency is critical. And the government then would have to actually come out and give us detail how they're going to deal with this. But again, community town halls to answer all of these questions as you go through in stages will be paramount. And creating possibly a citizens advocacy panel. I think Alfred had said that earlier on, or something in the same vein. And these are all things with on digital rights and all of that sort of stuff. So there's a lot to be built into this, and you can do it in a phase system. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina. I'm going to be short and sweet.
Go right ahead.
The Lands and Survey LIS system was breached, hacked, and was held ransom. That was a big cover up. Government tried to hide it. A lot of certainly people in the industry found out about it. And secondly, quite a few years ago, the police central data system was hacked. Files were lost. So nothing can happen. At the end of the day, garbage in, garbage out, or security is only what you will willing. This level of security is only based on the level you're willing to pay for it. So I'll just rest that right there.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, I thank you for confirming that, and that's why I said we don't know if since those breaches that they have actually leveled up so that these will not happen, which is why the example of making sure that certain persons in positions right now can assure that maybe this is a test run, maybe this is it. We don't know. But are you comfortable as a nation in going further into this, seeing that the building blocks are definitely starting to put in place? It's almost like building a home where the trenches have been dug, the steel has been laid, the foundation footing has been poured. What's next? Have you feel, or are you feeling that you being disenfranchised, that your voice doesn't matter, that all sectors of the Cayman Islands society is not really being reflected in this conversation or having a stake at the table? And then you're seeing what's happening internationally. You're seeing what's being happening at the United Nations. You're seeing where you're talking about these sustainable talks and these all of these parts of being this one world order and all of that. And people are just muddling it up into one, even if that's where it ends up at the end of the day. These things creep in when you don't speak to your nation. You're creating that environment. And it's not about controlling the narrative, because people are entitled to their opinions based on their own research. And we see the power of information out there. You just need to have the time to sit down, research, educate yourself. Don't necessarily go down in one particular rabbit hole, but look at it in its totality to be able to form your own opinion. But then when you are a policymaker, when you are a leader of people, you can't just look at it so insular, but you have a mandate to encourage and to invite participation from all sectors. So it's going to be interesting how this unfolds. And thank you, caller, for that, because I know that you are in the industry. But yeah, this is something that we will continue to evolve here. Whether or not we can slow it down, that depends on you. That depends on the unity. You may say, well, what foolishness you're talking about? Because if you're saying we are a BOTC and, whatever the UK says, no, that isn't always the case. That's why you have your politicians. Yeah, that's why you have them. That is why you have them. So even if it is something that we have some things that are in place here right now that the UK is still behind on. So something like the national ID, if they're speeding past us and trying to implement certain things and then make it appear as though they're pushing it down our throats, you have a right to stand up. And you do that through your MPs and hold them accountable. Forums just like this. Make your voices heard, make your voices known. And that's how we can actually do this. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. You're live. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you.
A little bit, almost at the ending part of it.
You bet. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But regarding the national ID, I think that's what the topic is about.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to open the door today.
Yeah, for overseas territory.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm like a lot of people. They're saying, that our politician controls our destiny to a certain extent. When it comes to those things, but if we remember very carefully, when we had We always called it 801 pulled out on us too when our politicians stood up and said we were not for the sex or civil
Partnership.
We said we said that was not part of our constitution, and the governor turned around and came behind us, used his powers, and voted on us. Our leaders, our politicians, all said no. Still turned around, we had England put it back down on us. So maybe we might be in that same shoe with this national ID, same thing. I mean, that's my opinion.
No, you're entitled to it, and that
Yeah.
is why you use those examples. And people are then saying, in regards to that particular move, is that the elected arm had an opportunity to really fight for the people and their voice, but now this section that was implemented by the governor then was again their right. So that's where then you say, are there lessons learned from that we don't want to
Exactly.
repeat here? So
Yeah, well,
maybe we have to relook at those steps, which is why it's important to what was really happening behind the scenes. It would be interesting.
yeah.
Was it that in closed doors there was support for it, but then when the time came that the public discussion happened on the floor of Parliament, one person was left standing?
Well,
So there's a lot more. Because they're afraid of them
me-
votes. They're afraid of losing them votes.
Me and you're on the same page right now regarding that, because me personally don't think that our politicians stood up for the Caymanian people or for our constitution to challenge UK. Because if we can now challenge the UK for the national ID, then if UK says we have to have it, and say we don't want it, I'm just making a reference.
Yeah. Just for the
And we say
context.
we don't want it, and we now go and challenge them. So were we all for the partnership, or we were just behind like you said, behind the scene, saying yes, and making your eye on the other one and saying no, so that we can,
or just to get it passed. The mere fact that it reached Parliament says that it was consented to in cabinet. And then with political pressure on the floor of Parliament, then you vote something totally different, because you then get public pressure to either go one way or the other. And then, anything down there that's passed has to be consented then by the governor, or in certain cases, then they can exercise their powers. So that's what we see played out there. So it would be interesting to know exactly what was the current stance after leaving cabinet by the cabinet. Were they in support or against? And then did that then change when there was a public outcry and bang? You see? So
I'm glad you as an ex-politician is now expressing your opinion on it.
That's why I have to be nonpartisan. So I paint a picture, because when certain things end up on the floor of Parliament, it's agreed to in cabinet.
Yeah, I understand. But
So
are we now going? Are we going to go back down that same rabbit hole?
We don't know. We don't know.
Because it's almost playing the same role. I mean, if England has the last say, as our politicians made us to believe, that's my words, that that England pulled out 8-1 on us because he had the last say. So I mean, we had people that we had petitions set to the House of Parliament disagreeing about it, and they still turn around and use it on us. But then, for another example of it, when the previous government, the PPM government, was involved when they were trying to do the cruise line, I'm not taking away from the picture, but I'm just making a scenario when they said the governor should have stepped in and said, when the PPM said, we're going to put in the pair, regardless of whether that's what the majority wants or not. If they had got through, England didn't step. The governor didn't step in, who's supposed to be protecting us, and say, well, let's get a referendum going and get what the majority wants. In my opinion, if the PPM had continued, had they got back in power from that next government, they would just went ahead whether the people were. That's just like the Westway Road. We also in positions not to put in the Westway Road, but we still had it rammed down our throats. And now we got people now that are bickering, that all this were wrong. But who stood up for us? Where was the governor then? I mean, is the governor? I mean, that affects everybody. The Westway Road affected everybody.
Right.
And
Well,
so where is their powers then? So their powers is only for what they want. In my opinion, they're not in the best interest for us either. That's my opinion.
well, let's see. Let's see as this space unfolds. And I'm going to make you know, and I could lose a lot of you, but you're talking about where I am nonpartisan. At 7:00, the governor and I think the premier is going to be on Compass, where they're talking about governance and other things.
Okay.
So you may want to tune on to Compass. But it has been
Okay.
my pleasure. Again,
pleasure.
I'm nonpartisan. It's all about information. It's all about
Okay.
information. Okay, take
Yeah.
care.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Good
All
night.
right, good night. Good evening, caller. I'm winding down. You called in late.
I know. I
And
was
you
extremely
sure
busy.
you don't want to hear what the governor and the premier is saying over on Compass? Yeah, I am that fair.
I'm not familiar. I've been busy, so I
Well,
don't
I
know
strongly
what
suggest they're going to be talking about governance and something else over there. But our topic today was the national ID, and I sent you the flyer. So there we go. So I'm giving people the opportunity. Not that I'm sending them where I just wanted them to
Well-
hear. I'm encouraging people to just go to the platforms, educate and inform yourself.
Well, I was just listening to the last caller,
Mm-hmm.
and she raised the governor, but the governor is not in that office to look out for the interests of the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the Constitution order in Section 31(3) says the opposite. It says that when the governor is carrying out his or her responsibilities, that he or she shall endeavor to look out for the interests of the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
But the damaging phrase is the next one. And that is, so long as those interests are consistent with the interests of the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they come first.
Mm-hmm.
We come last.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
They have told us that.
Yeah.
Now, however, that provision is the opposite of what the UK has said to the United Nations. Because in the United Nations, Article 73 of the UN of the UN Charter,
right,
says that as the administering power, they are to look out for our interests first. That our interest, the word used is paramount. So our political, our social, our religious, our interests are paramount. You see, the Cayman Islands is not a possession like a slave.
Right.
It's more like the UK is, the Cayman Islands is in trust, and the UK is the trustees. The trustees don't act in their own interests; they act in the interests of whoever the beneficiaries of the trust are. Okay, and so the United Kingdom in the Cayman Islands is the most duplicitous thing I've ever seen in my life. We are being deceived in ways that is just downright amazing, and our people allow themselves to be manipulated by the United Kingdom constantly. I'll tell you something. It's even worse than that. The MPs that you're looking to look out for you are sold out to the UK. Let me give you an example. She talked about the PPM. Under the PPM, the Constitution order was amended so that the House of Commons could extend legislation passed in the House of Commons to the Cayman Islands. Just by simply saying it applies to the Cayman Islands. Now, in 2008, when the Constitution order was negotiated, it said that changes to the Constitution required a referendum. Do you remember engaging in a referendum about whether the House of Commons could just automatically extend it to the Cayman?
Yeah.
Cayman?
Mm-hmm.
No. What you have is outright unlawful activity happening.
Mm-hmm.
And just because of who they are, people just cower and allow their rights to be destroyed.
But are you seeing that playing out now, even with speaking, giving their own opinion and asking questions openly, Danny? I mean, the freedom of speech, we have pretty much pigeonholed ourselves because we are spared to speak up because we have seen obvious victimization. We've seen where getting jobs and that sort of stuff is used against you just because of sheer nature, and you may freely speak your mind under Section 11. But do you feel that continues to happen because we actually behave as though we were a republic instead of a democratic society?
Well, democracy is dangerous. All the difference between a republic and a democracy is that in a democracy, you just need to have the majority to do whatever you want to do, which could be the absolute wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
In a republic, the minority have rights.
Rights.
Okay? And so you just can't treat people any old how. Their rights should be respected.
But isn't it a delicate balance then? Because at what point do you see the deep pockets having the louder voice, even though they may be the minority?
Well, the deep pockets will always try to control, but this is why the concept of the rule of law is important. This is why when those who are responsible for ensuring that things, you see how you were talking about the actions of government must be lawful,
Mm-hmm.
they must be rational,
And
they must be
proportionate.
proportionate and procedurally fair.
Mm-hmm.
This procedurally fair part, the courts should not allow people in government to abuse the rights of the public.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, they're people. All right? And things are not always done the way they ought to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And it then falls on the public to either accept it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And in Cayman, the flaw that we have in our culture is that we look to politicians to take care of us. But that is the weakness, because the very people we're looking to look out for our interests are sold out to the other side. And on this issue of digital ID, people might be thinking that this is just like, a driver's license or a passport. It's just another document. What's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you this question. I'm not going to get fully into this argument. I'm just going to raise a question.
I can't believe you late to
consider.
class today, because I actually was looking forward to you to weigh in on this as a co-side with me. So
unfortunately, my life
you're ridiculous.
Actually, my kids' education comes first.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I take it back. I take it back.
But so I just was busy and I couldn't. I mean, I didn't even. The truth of the matter is that some days I have more time than others. It's just that simple, and I can't know when those days are going to be.
Well, maybe the mere fact that I just scratched the surface and given certain terminology, explained exactly what it means, where the Constitution lies, would you want at the request then day that maybe we can plan this, that we can delve deeper into this topic? Because I think it's more than warranted.
This is something that we really need to talk about.
No, for true. But I don't want you to lose that momentum, number one. And number two, in order to provoke even more conversation, I have to be neutral because I respect your opinion. And this is why I felt it was important for you to weigh in on this, and that I brought it from a neutral standpoint this evening to hear then your take from a different perspective.
Okay, well, let me pose this scenario to the public. So if your passport expires, you can still drive your car.
Correct.
If your driver's license expires, you can still travel on a plane.
Correct.
But if you have one ID that ties to everything, when that one thing gets shut down, you lose connection to everything.
But then that would be in breach of the Constitution, because the Constitution says
what's the
freedom of movement.
What's the difference between that and the UK being requiring a referendum to change the Constitution, and then they violate that in and of itself when it comes to the amendments that was done?
But then that's where you take the power of the people. At some point, you got to stand together, Danny.
If the people are too afraid to lose a job,
well, then we're just going around like a hamster.
Exactly. But this is what they're counting on. They will do to us as they please because they know we're afraid. Now, I just use the word we.
So we have created that environment based on our own culture.
I don't include myself in being afraid.
Understood.
I just say we because we're collective.
Yeah.
Right? But the point that I'm making to you is that you have no idea. If you think that this digital ID is just like a driver's license or some other document that we're used to, you are sadly mistaken. This is an international, unique ID that we are being slotted into a bigger system.
But this is why I said it's important then for rebuilding trust. And I don't think you were on when I said it. I feel I feel that we are at a crossroads of rebuilding trust. And maybe this topic of our national ID, if they actually uphold all of these rights of their constitution with privacy, freedom of movement, freedom of expression, and all that sort of stuff, and don't use that against you in rolling out of this. Damian Henry said I should give you a kaboom. I really feel, Danny, that we are at a crossroads that we could probably rebuild the trust if we have persons like yourself who are seeing it from one perspective. If they can satisfy you and so many others that what you've actually described with freedom of movement and travel and all of that sort of stuff that you went into just now will not be in breach, then maybe we're in the right direction. Outside of that, we're going around like hamsters in a wheel.
The government went to Estonia.
Yeah.
And they looked at what they did there.
Correct.
Now, what the thing that you need to focus on about Estonia is what they didn't do. Not what they did, but what they didn't do. And what they didn't do is they didn't look at the elements of how do we protect the rights of people. All they did was took out the parts that allow them to monitor, surveil, and report. Right? So they can control us, but they left out completely any mechanism that allowed the public to know what's going on. Because in Estonia, I'm not suggesting that they implement it. I'm just observing what they left out. And what they left out is that in Estonia, when you access the public's information, the government has to tell you that they accessed your information and why. You know why that's like that? because they know what it's like to live under communist rule.
Mm-hmm.
Caymanians have no idea
Yeah.
what that means. Okay? And,
It's new
and
for
if
us.
if you leave out a provision that protects the public,
Mm-hmm.
that suggests to me that you intend to misuse the powers that you are grabbing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Otherwise, you'd have no problem with me having rights.
Right.
But I'll leave it there for now.
Interesting.
There is much more we could talk about.
Well, I will invite you to tell me when, and I would be more than happy to entertain, because this will not be the last time we're hearing this, because we're seeing what's happening in the EU, and that's going to roll out whether or not they want it on the 17th of October. And we are seeing where right here in our in the region, Barbados was trying, but again, that has been delayed because of, again, pushback, privacy issues. And we see what's happening in Jamaica. So the subject is not off the table for me. And like I said, I feel with what you bring to the table from your perspective, it would be great to have you on, that we can just delve into this. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Yes, this is coming to an end of this episode of Sabrina Speaks, and I'm just 15 minutes over. But, before we go, remember this Saturday, too many deals to mention. But shop smart and fly far at International Lighting Clearance Sale this Saturday from 7 to 11. They are having a clearance, a huge, huge, huge clearance and sidewalk sale. And a one lucky shopper, will about to take off with a Cayman Airways ticket to any destination. You see my friend Edward? Oh yeah, that's how he do it. That's how Eddie does it. But yes, go down there. It's Saturday. There's a specific window to stock up and take advantage of these deals. And once you spend $50 or more, you get a chance to win a ticket. Yes. So we've reached that moment where silence is no longer an opinion, and where the national ID, even though we can call this part 1, part 2 is to come. The national ID, as we found out here, and I hope you were able to take away some nuggets here today, that it isn't just a piece of plastic, it is a symbol of who we identify and how we identify. It also is a symbol of privacy and trust in a changing world. And while the technology may be new, the question it raises is timeless. Who are we? Who do we trust? And who gets to decide? Now, our Constitution gives us that right, not just to be protected, but to be heard. And today, those rights must guide us. So, because this isn't just policy, it's about people. It's about every Caymanian, from East End to Boo Point. And Little Cayman. Yeah. Having a voice in the system that shapes our lives. So we've seen what happens when governments move faster than their people. It just doesn't happen, right? We've seen the cost of ignoring the public concern. It just will not happen. And we've seen through the Auditor General's report that accountability isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. So let me leave you this evening with one question. You need to ask, more a thought. Let's be bold enough to ask questions. Let's be bold enough to demand clarity. Let's respect every view, but never settle for silence. Because Cayman's future isn't written by politicians alone. It's written by every one of us. It has been my pleasure bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Until tomorrow, that's our Wind Down Friday. Have a safe and fabulous Thursday evening. God bless. Love you lots. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.